What's up, everybody? PlayStation has finally announced that we are getting a PlayStation 5 event, and I am so excited. So, I thought I should go ahead and do a predictions video, but if you're watching this after the event has already happened, go ahead and keep on watching because I'm going to be giving a sort of update on what each of the Sony studios is currently working on or rumored to be working on, including the rumored Marvel Spider-Man 2 sequel, the Horizon Zero Dawn sequel, God of War sequel, and other projects that are happening. So we're going to be going through studio by studio, giving my thoughts, my predictions, and also looking at what the previous PlayStation 4 event had to kind of give us some context of what we should be expecting going into this event. If you're watching this after the event has already happened, there could be a lot of studios that we didn't hear from. Like, there's a very good chance we may not be getting a new Uncharted game announced as a launch title for the PlayStation 5, but that still could be coming down the pipeline. And so we're gonna be talking about the possibility and what studio would actually be working on that, because spoiler alert, it may not be Naughty Dog. So a quick recap, back in February 2013, PlayStation had an event for the PlayStation 4, and at this event, they announced Knack, Killzone Shadowfall, Drive Club, Infamous Second Son, The Witness, Quantic Dream had a tech demo. We got a first look at Dreams. We got Deep Down, Square's Luminous Engine tech demo. We got a look at Watch Dogs, Diablo 3, and then Destiny. Now, going down the list here, will we see Knack 3? Probably. And if so, I'm gonna be freaking hyped. Actually, I haven't played any of the Knack games, but I own them. I'm gonna be surprised if Knack 3 was a launch title as sort of a way to show off some of the new tech. It's kind of a glorified platforming tech demo for the PlayStation platform. I really could expect us maybe seeing a look at Knack 3. As for Killzone Shadowfall being shown off at the PlayStation 4 event, that was developed by Guerrilla Games, and Guerrilla Games is now working on Horizon Zero Dawn, and most likely a Horizon Zero Dawn shooter. However, Guerrilla Games is a huge studio, and there have been rumblings and rumors that they are working on an online multiplayer shooter. Whether that fits into the Killzone brand or it's a new independent shooter, that remains to be seen. So I would maybe predict that we would see an online shooter by Guerrilla Games at this conference. As for Infamous Second Son being announced at the PlayStation 4 event, that was developed by Sucker Punch Games, and Sucker Punch Games is currently wrapping up production on Ghost of Tsushima. Now, could we maybe see a new trailer, some new hype for Ghost of Tsushima, maybe have it running on the PlayStation 5, maybe showing some perks or an expansion to the game and announcing that it's going to be coming to the PlayStation 5 at launch? That's a possibility. Sucker Punch is also known for the Infamous games and for Sly Cooper, and whether or not we're going to see Infamous anytime soon, I doubt it because of the focus on Ghost of Tsushima. Going down the list here, we did have a look at Dreams at the PlayStation 4 event, and I would not be surprised if we saw maybe a little bit of a push of Dreams for the PlayStation 5, maybe announcing that the VR capabilities are going to be coming to the game and kind of more robust multiplayer, and maybe also Media Molecule giving an opportunity to say that you can make bigger or larger Dreams on the PlayStation 5. Now, how that works with backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4 version and that sort of ecosystem and community, I'm not too sure how that would work, but I think Media Molecule is really going all in on Dreams, and I would not be surprised if they want to maybe have the PlayStation 5 event as a platform to push it even further. Going down the list here once again at what we saw at the PlayStation 4 event, one of the prime examples was getting our first look at Watch Dogs, and Watch Dogs Legion is launching probably this year. I don't know if it was delayed into 2021 because of COVID-19, but we really need a platform to see this game. Ubisoft does have an event in July that they could be using as an opportunity to show maybe a larger demo of the game, but I would not be surprised if we saw Watch Dogs Legion, at least a trailer or maybe even a cinematic of the game at the PlayStation event. As for Diablo 3, or really any game by Blizzard, we maybe could see something like Overwatch 2, or we could see something like Diablo 4. Well, there's lots of possibilities with what Blizzard may be showing off, or what Activision maybe want to showing off. And speaking of Activision, Activision with Destiny was a huge partner with PlayStation, but since the launch of the PlayStation 4, Bungie with Destiny 2 has actually become an independent developer. However, that doesn't stop the possibility that Bungie may want to be showing off something with Destiny 2, because I follow Destiny pretty religiously, and each week I read the This Week at Bungie blog, and this last week's This Week at Bungie blog had no information. Literally, the headline was, This Week at Bungie, we look to the sky. They are just looking to the future. They're kind of holding off on information, and they said they're going to be getting information very, very soon, but they just couldn't talk about it yet. Could this be that maybe Bungie didn't know exactly when the PlayStation 5 event would be happening, and they just knew that they had to hold out for that, and we're going to be getting a look at the next season or next expansion of Destiny? I think it's a really strong possibility, and Destiny, at least with the current fan base, is in desperate need of something shaken up. It is in desperate need of a big step forward. And so this could be the event to kind of push out that message. But what are the other studios working on? We've talked about Guerrilla Games, we've talked about Media Molecule, but we haven't talked about Ben Studio, which are the developers of Days Gone. And they actually used to work on a lot of portable games, like on the PlayStation Vita. But with Days Gone just releasing, it is no doubt going to be getting a sequel, especially if you've played that game. There are lots of little story threads throughout the whole game that imply a sequel is coming. And personally, I loved Days Gone. I got the platinum in it, and I'd really like to see where they go from there. Is it maybe too soon to see a sequel to the game? I'm not too sure. Is it too soon to announce a sequel to the game? I'm not too sure. Days Gone is in one of those weird sweet spots where I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they could use the kind of engine they currently have and kind of push out a new open world. I'm not a game developer by any means. I don't know, how that whole process could go, but I would not be surprised if we're getting that either at this event or sometime like maybe like a PlayStation experience in the winter. Insomniac Games is known for Spyro the Dragon, Ratchet and Clank, the Resistance series, but most notably they recently developed Spider-Man, and I think it is a perfect time to get a Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man 2 coming out as a launch title or at least an early spring 2021 title is an absolute baller move by PlayStation if they're able to pull that off. And if you played Spider-Man and you saw the ending, you know that there is like a big thing that we're going to be getting in Spider-Man 2. I'm not going to spoil it here for the people that haven't played the game because you got to go play Spider-Man. But oh my freaking gosh, if they come into this event and they say, yo, Spider-Man 2 is coming, I'm going to poop my pants. I'm going to be so excited. And if we don't get it at launch, I'm really hoping we get it within the first year of the PlayStation 5. Another studio we don't know what they're working on completely is Japan Studio. They're known for developing Knack and Knack 2. And like I said early on in the video, I think it's a strong possibility that we could see Knack 3 as sort of a glorified tech demo and as an opportunity to have a family-friendly platformer on the console. But recently, Japan Studio also, I believe it's with the Asobi team, created Astrobot Rescue Mission on PlayStation VR. And for those of you that don't know what Astrobot Rescue Mission is, it is like the definitive PlayStation VR title. It is so remarkably amazing. I got the platinum in that game as well. Really, really loved it. And if we don't hear from Japan Studio at this launch event, I hope we get news from them soon that they are making an Astrobot sequel for PlayStation VR and PlayStation 5. Speaking of PlayStation VR, London Studio, we don't know what they're working on. They recently worked on Blood and Truth. They also created VR World, SingStar. Most likely, they're also going to be focusing on PlayStation VR, and I'm excited to see what they bring out. Naughty Dog, one of the biggest, if not the biggest Sony studio, is currently wrapping up The Last of Us Part 2, and they're also known for the Uncharted series. Now, I don't know if they're going to be returning to Uncharted anytime soon. I think this Last of Us Part 2 is definitely going to be their last The Last of Us. It's kind of a funny way to say it. And so I really doubt we'll see anything from them at this event, if not for maybe a push of, hey, The Last of Us Part 2 comes out. At this point, it'll be like weeks away, and maybe they're going to say something along the lines of it's going to be launching on PlayStation 5 as well, with the kind of backwards compatibility, forward compatibility, and maybe, I guess they could talk about a multiplayer mode because that was a much requested feature, and maybe they could announce that that's launching alongside the PlayStation 5. Something to think about. But speaking of Uncharted, Sony San Diego is actually rumored to be working on a new Uncharted game. Now, weird thing with that is that Sony San Diego is usually the developer of MLB The Show and other games, like they collaborated on the development of Drawn to Death, Star Blood Arena, Little Big Planet Karting. And so it'd be really bizarre for them to go from developing those kind of games to developing a full-fledged freaking Uncharted. However, even though we kind of got a wrap-up of Nathan Drake's legacy with the Nathan Drake collection and then A Thief's End, there's still lots of possibilities if you've played Uncharted, Uncharted Lost Legacy and other characters within the Uncharted universe that could definitely spin off and have their own game. And so I think that's a franchise that's just too monumental to PlayStation to be given up. And so I'm really excited to see if maybe Sony San Diego's logo comes up at the PlayStation 5 event. It's a good possibility that could be Uncharted. We've already talked about Sucker Punch Productions finishing up Ghost of Tsushima, maybe bringing that over to PlayStation 5, which ends us out with Santa Monica Studio, which worked on God of War 2016 and is now presumably working on God of War Part 2. And oh my gosh, I don't know what's more anticipated for me. Spider-Man 2 or God of War 2, because God of War, once again, got the Platinum Trophy. I've gotten like the Platinum Trophy in all these games. Days Gone, Spider-Man, Uncharted trilogy, I got the platinum. In God of War, Astrobot, I got all these platinums. I just love Sony, I love PlayStation, and I think, personally, for the hype, for just the momentum going into PlayStation 5, I think Sony's gonna announce God of War Part 2 at this PlayStation event. I think it's gonna be, I wouldn't be surprised if they saved it for like their one more thing. I think in an ideal world, the show starts, or the showcase starts with Spider-Man 2 and ends with God of War 2. Oh, although we didn't talk about Horizon Zero Dawn, the sequel. That would be developed by Guerrilla Games. I think I maybe mentioned that at the start of the video. I'm kind of losing track with all these different studios, but I could see that one maybe being one of the starts or ends as well. Maybe somewhere in the middle. I mean, I don't know. That becomes a lot to announce. That becomes almost cannibalizing their own news on top of each other, that if they announce too many big first-party sequels. So you got to razzle-dazzle with a little bit of indies, a little bit of new stuff, and then a little bit of like, all right, here's some of our big sequels moving forward. I think God of War 2, Cory Barlog, I'm hoping saying their last name right, is super active on Twitter, is constantly teasing God of War 2, is constantly kind of referring to it and building up the hype to it, and is very active. And that game came out in 2016. At this point, it'd be nearly 5 years since the game came out. Is that right? God of War 2 came out in God of War came out in 2018. My bad. 2 years would be a pretty fast turnaround for God of War 2. But I think it's one of those games that it came out with such critical success that I would not be surprised if Sony was like, yo, we got to get this game out. It's got to be ready for PlayStation 5 right away. I wouldn't be surprised if the timeline is have something like Spider-Man or Horizon ready to go at launch, and then God of War is like the big fall 2021 game. But that all being said, I really think we're going to see it at this event. Reasonable expectations, I think, is that we're going to get 2 sequels, either Spider-Man, Horizon, or God of War. Two of those games are reasonably going to get a sequel announced at this event. More maybe realistic expectations, maybe a little bit lower expectations, kind of keeping things a little bit modest, is to have only one of those, and then the big blowout, maybe even irresponsible by PlayStation, would be to announce all 3 are getting sequels. But I think at that point you start cannibalizing your own news. People can only talk about so much, and so I think you need to kind of pick just a couple, you know, start and end the show with 2 biggies. But that's pretty much everything the Sony studios are working on, or I think their new name is PlayStation Studios. Let me know down in the comment section below. Are you excited for this PlayStation event? What do you want to see out of the console? We've already heard a lot about how its solid state drive allows for not only crazy fast loading screens, but also through the Unreal Tech demo allows for the loading of crazy light and polygons, triangles on triangles. We've seen a lot of crazy stuff like that. And so we kind of know about the power of the console. We don't know about the price. We've seen the controller. So really the big thing we're waiting for is games, and they're setting expectations that we're going to see games, that this is kind of the place to find out about launch. And so personally, I'm really excited. But let me know what kind of games you guys want to see. And are you maybe hoping for the return of one of these classic series? Like, we haven't seen Infamous in a while. We haven't, I mean, are we going to see Uncharted anytime soon, or is Uncharted years and years away? Ratchet and Clank, Killzone, Resistance, all these sort of franchises that have been dormant for a while. What would be one that you would want to see return? And out of all of these games, rumored, real, whatever, what is your most anticipated game for the PlayStation 5 launch? Personally, I'm a huge Spider-Man guy. I got a Spider-Man Funko right here on my desk, but I don't, God of War 2, depending on, and I mean Horizon Zero Dawn 2, I mean those 3 are just some triple threats that I'm really excited to check out. But I'll be doing live reactions to all the trailers, all of the announcements that we see at the event, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those reactions. We also have tons of reactions here on the channel that you can go ahead and binge leading up to the PlayStation 5 event. And if you're watching this after the PlayStation 5 event, let me know down in the comments. How right was I? How wrong was I? Let's talk about it. And if there's anything that we didn't find out from the event, I'd love to kind of speculate on the future of PlayStation down in the comments below. I'll talk to you guys down there, but until next time, bye!